Good news can wait. Bad news should travel fast. I didn't always believe that. I used to think the goal was simply to fix problems early. It isn't. The real goal is to make sure people feel safe enough to tell you about them in the first place. One thing I've learned from managing projects and people is that the cost of solving a problem is rarely proportional to the problem itself. It tends to grow with time. Andrew Grove wrote in High Output Management, "A common rule we should always try to heed is to detect and fix any problem in a production process at the lowest value stage possible. The earlier you catch something, the fewer things have been built on top of it. A misunderstanding between two people can be fixed with a conversation. Leave it for a few months, and it can become a dysfunctional working relationship. A small technical issue can be fixed in an afternoon. Leave it until the product is finished, and you may have to redesign half of it. A customer who hasn't responded can be followed up with. Leave it for weeks, and suddenly the entire schedule is moving. The problem itself may not have become 10 times more difficult, but the consequences surrounding it have." Peter Kaufman puts it even more bluntly in Poor Charlie's Almanac. "Good news can wait. Tell us the bad news promptly." He adds, "You must stop slop early." But there's an important condition for that to happen. Don't punish the messenger for bringing bad news. If every person who reports a mistake gets blamed, embarrassed, or berated, people quickly learn the wrong lesson. Not fix problems early, but don't let anyone find out until you have no other choice. By then, the problem has already had time to spread. The person closest to a problem is often the first person to know something is wrong. If they can openly say, "I made a mistake, this isn't working, I'm falling behind," or "I don't know how to solve this," the organization has a chance to intervene while the problem is still small. That doesn't mean there should be no accountability. A culture where people can openly report failures is not a culture where failures have no consequences. The distinction is important. Don't berate someone for telling you about a problem. Deal with the problem, then objectively examine what caused it. Maybe it was an honest mistake. Maybe the process was flawed. Maybe the person lacked the necessary capability. Maybe there was negligence. Those questions can be investigated. But first, you need the truth. A mistake reported early is usually cheaper than the same mistake discovered months later. Here's where this stops being about organizations and starts being about me. I have noticed the same tendency in myself. There are things I know need to be done, but I put them off because they're uncomfortable. A phone call I don't want to make, a conversation I don't want to have, a mistake I don't want to acknowledge, a piece of work I know isn't good enough. The strange thing is that postponing them rarely makes them disappear. Instead, the problem starts occupying mental space. Then other things get built around it. Eventually, fixing the original problem requires fixing all the things that happened because I didn't fix it. That's where the compounding cost comes from. Problems compound. A small problem today can become a large problem tomorrow. Not necessarily because the original problem grew, but because more decisions, work, expectations, and relationships become attached to it. This is why I increasingly try to treat early discomfort as useful information. If something feels slightly wrong, I would rather investigate it while it's still cheap to change. If someone's work isn't meeting the standard, I would rather tell them early than wait until the problem becomes undeniable. If a proposal isn't working, I would rather challenge the premise before everyone spends another month executing it. If I'm avoiding a phone call, that's probably a good reason to make the phone call. The temptation is always to wait for more information. Sometimes that's rational. But sometimes I'll deal with it later is just a more comfortable way of saying, I don't want to deal with it now. The longer you wait, the more expensive the eventual correction becomes. So here's the principle I'm trying to keep. Don't wait for a problem to become serious enough that everyone agrees it needs to be fixed. Catch it while it's still small. Make it safe to report. Deal with it at the source, then fix the system or behavior that allowed it to happen. The goal isn't to build an organization where nobody makes mistakes. That's impossible. The goal is to build one where mistakes, failures, and shortcomings become visible before they become expensive. Good news can wait. Bad news should travel fast.